Production funding for Ruckus has been provided by gifts from Dave and Jamie Cummings, the Hartwig family, Hush Blackwell, Barbara and Peter Gattermeyer, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to Ruckus, our weekly food for thought fight over the news of the day and the trends of the times. I'm Mike Shannon. The Ruckettes join me shortly. Obviously, we're on a different night at a different time. This temporary move helps clear the way for the Ken Burns Vietnam War series to air on Thursday evenings through next week. Our topics this week: the Jackson County Jail continues to fail, Betsy DeVos fails to impress some Kansas Cityans, and did Edgemoor impress the City Council? Plus roast and toast. But we start with our interview segment and focus on the popular Westport area of Kansas City, Missouri. Tucked between downtown and the plaza, Westport is an interesting mix of entertainment, business, and residential elements. Here to discuss Westport's successes and occasional problems is Kim Kimbrough, director of the Westport Regional Business League. Mr. Kimbrough, welcome. Thank you very much for coming in to be part of Ruckus this week.
Thanks for having me.
So what is this association, the League? What's its purpose? What does it do?
Well, we really kind of focus on economic development, and we also manage the CIDs that are in Westport, which provide
Community Improvement
Districts, yes, that provide additional security as well as maintenance, streetscape, marketing, those kinds of things.
So you're like a business association?
Similar. We're not really a membership group as such, but we represent the business owners and the property owners in Westport.
Is this your main job as the director of this league?
Yes, sir.
All right. How is business in Westport? You know, a few years ago when the Power and Light District opened, some people had suggested that its opening would cause a lot of problems for Westport, at least in the evenings. Have you experienced that decline?
You know, there were some changes several years ago after that happened, but truthfully, the last 2 years we have had the best years that we have ever had in Westport. We've got the highest occupancy rate currently that we've had in more than 60 years. The number of businesses, there are just under 4,000 people that work there. There's 212 businesses in Westport, which again is all private, which is great. Business was good, and it has been good. Unfortunately, situations like when shootings occur, business drops.
Well, I want to ask you about that. There was a front page story in the Kansas City Star last Sunday. It was quite lengthy, and its point, I think, was that young black professionals, millennials, who come to Kansas City, who live in Kansas City, say that they feel unwanted and unwelcome in recreation, entertainment areas, and the article seemed to center on Westport. What is your reaction to that kind of story?
Well, I would suggest to you that some of the folks that were quoted probably should visit Westport during the entertainment hours more often, because quite frankly, it is a very diverse crowd. It is a very diverse offering of music types. People get along for the most part. It's a very desirable place for people to go for entertainment.
Has there been any legal action, any litigation concerning Westport and discriminatory actions?
No, never. Huh. Absolutely never.
Well, there are episodes of violence in Westport. We can't deny that. And of course, there was the shooting at Californo's, the death of an off-duty police officer, the wounding of another woman. Is there anything that the league can do to try to control this sort of thing, stop it?
Mike, you know, that particular incident occurred on private property. That particular incident occurred on a Sunday evening. It is now, our crowds traditionally on Sunday evening are not what they are on Friday and Saturday nights. On Friday and Saturday nights, we easily have between 2,000 and 4,000 folks standing in the streets, and the restaurants and bars are packed. It is when that happens, that's when our concern is. If the same shots were fired on Pennsylvania Avenue or on Westport Road on a Friday or Saturday night as indiscriminately and for such a minor issue as they were on that Sunday night at Californo's, we wouldn't have one person dead and one person wounded. We'd have dozens dead and dozens wounded, and it would crater the opportunities for the independent small businesses that are in Westport.
And
that's who they are.
Your proposed solution is to privatize a street or two.
Vacation.
But that has gotten nowhere.
Well, it's taken a lot of time.
Who has to approve it? The city government?
Ultimately, the city council will have to approve this. And unfortunately, this was not our first choice. We'd prefer not to do this. Unfortunately, because of the change in the state constitution in 2015 and the open carry law that was passed last year, took effect January 1 of this year, we've seen our incidence of weapon offenses increase exponentially. And based upon what happens every single weekend, there is a catastrophic event waiting to happen, and we cannot stop it unless the city gives us the ability to prohibit firearms from coming into those large crowds.
And you're going to continue pressing the city for some sort of solution?
Absolutely. Yeah, well, the solution is and we would give them an easement back for all hours except for 11 to 4 on Friday and Saturday nights, a perpetual easement. So we believe this is the way to do it. And if the state law changes, we don't want this responsibility.
Right. Great. Thank you for coming in. Good luck.
Sir. Thank you very much.
All right. That is Kim Kimbrough, Director of the Westport Regional Business League. Now let's meet the panel and start a ruckus. Teresa Garza is a former Jackson County legislator. Ron Freeman is a motivational speaker and writer. Patrick McInerney is a former prosecutor, now in private practice with Spencer Fane. And Crosby Kemper III is the executive director of the Kansas City Library and host of KCPT's Meet the Past and Centropolis programs. A quick note before we get into our topics. It is with immense sadness that we acknowledge the passing of longtime Ruckus panelist and booster Steve Glorioso. Ironically, Steve was scheduled to appear on the program last week. Illness forced cancellation of his appearance one day before the taping. Steve was instrumental in this program's creation in the mid-1990s and one of the prime reasons for its early success. In recent years, Steve maintained an interest in Ruckus, appearing frequently in his role as a political consultant and always offering his share, maybe more than his share, of opinions and advice. We will miss Steve's involvement and offer our sincere sympathies to his family, friends, and colleagues. Steve Glorioso, one of the original Ruckettes, gone at 70. And now on with tonight's program. The Jackson County Jail has been a cause of concern for decades, dating back to at least the 70s and 80s. The jail is under the jurisdiction of the county legislature and county executive. Both were recently told by consultant group HOK they had two options to solve the jail's many problems, and either would cost at least $150 million. The options are renovate or rebuild. Of course, there is a third option, do nothing. One of our panelists is a former long-term Jackson County legislator. So, Ms. Garza, what option should the county consider? Rebuild, renovate, or just do nothing?
So in my personal opinion, I would go for rebuild if I was still on there, mainly because the jail has had so many issues over a long time, several years. I remember when I was there at one point, we had gone in and redone the doors and the security systems because an inmate had gotten out and had somehow gotten into the Sally Port. And so we had to go in and revamp that security system. So it's been an ongoing problem. Plus it's an old building, so you've got a lot of items dealing with the plumbing and so forth that are just long-standing, and the maintenance it just continues to grow.
Have those problems been ignored for decades?
No, I mean, I think you do the maintenance as much as you can when you're in the budget process, but they're ongoing. They are old pipes. It is an old building. They're old electrical wiring, so forth, and all those issues accumulate. And no matter how much you continue to try to repair them, because of the age of them, it's just an ongoing issue. So I think at some point you have to take a look at comparisons on whether rebuilding or renovating is how you go. And I think in the long run, to save money, you look at rebuilding.
Patrick, you may have spent some time in the jail, not as an inmate, but as an attorney representing.
Don't be too sure.
Well, I'm not. Now that I think of it,
You never know.
How would you answer that question? Renovate, rebuild, or ignore?
Well, I think there's no question that we have to renovate, but the real question...
Renovate or rebuild?
I'm sorry, rebuild. Okay. The real question, though, is why aren't we thinking about a regional detention facility?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
A 15 to 2,000 bed facility that serves not just Jackson County, but other municipalities, other surrounding jurisdictions, because that's really what most municipalities are moving
in both
to.
Missouri and Kansas, or
both Missouri and Kansas, federal as well, federal inmates as well. I mean, that's why St. Clair County is in the business they're in, housing federal inmates, because it's worthwhile. The real question, though, here is why there's not an Amber Alert out for Frank White. Where's the leadership on this? Where is the county executive day to day moving through this decision and reaching some solutions here? It's right now you have a county legislature that is making executive decisions and essentially running the operations of the jail while there's no leadership from that end of the second floor, and that's what's really desperately needed.
I agree with both the things you say about the regional detention center and about the absence of leadership, but that absence of leadership includes the county prosecutor, Ms. Baker, the city prosecutor, Linda Miller, who's too busy arresting librarians, I guess, to care, the sheriff, the police chief, who hasn't been there that long, and Sheriff Sharp. And as you know, Frank White did take one step. He talked about dismissing Sheriff Sharp because he wouldn't prosecute crimes inside the Jackson County Jail.
That's not the case, and that's not what we're talking about here.
We're talking about
that's a critical piece, though.
We're talking about management, and we're talking about the people who are involved in the jail who really aren't involved in the jail. There's a management problem here. I agree with you, but it's kind of across the board.
It is, but it's a county facility. It's the primary facility for the county. We're talking about leadership from the top, and there's nobody home at the top.
Okay, I agree, but that would include in the legislature itself, the chairman of the legislature, and it would include the people who are supposed to be running the jail.
The legislature is looking at overtime, right? They've spent $3.2 million in overtime this year. The legislature is dealing with day-to-day staffing issues, which is
that's
not
always
their job.
been the case. That's always been staffing at the jail has always been an issue. Even the whole time that I was at the county, that was a problem. And they're very underpaid, so it's hard to get them. To recruit.
And Crosby,
employees.
Congratulations on getting the librarian angle into the jail story. You said you would try and you succeeded. Before we wrap it up, Rod, this idea of a regional jail, that's not easy to put together, is it? To get both states to cooperate?
No, it's not easy, but the problem is reform in general. The way it's being run, it's not right. It's not working. And so, you could build a new building. If you run it the same way, it's not going to work. So,
amen.
And would it be downtown, or should it be at a different location if it were only the Jackson County Jail?
I would be looking outside of downtown.
Right.
I mean, there's plenty of room in unincorporated Jackson County and other areas that they can be looking at that they can build this out.
And Mike, should it be public or private? That's another real question to answer.
Well, and you also have to look at the fact that the prison is still out of whack with ADA compliance, and they still have to make sure that when they're building it, it's in compliance with the PREA, which is the Prison Reform. I forget, something act. And so those are things that have to be considered as well.
All right, got to move on. In a predictably liberal column, the Star's Mary Sanchez said Education Secretary Betsy DeVos, who came to Kansas City last week, and I quote now, would make a really good beauty queen. She's gracious, demure, photogenic, and surrounded by a team of handlers to whisk her away from anything unpleasant, end of quote. Apparently, her handlers failed. DeVos encountered protesters as she toured Johnson County Community College and the Kansas City Academy, a private school. Critics of DeVos seem to dislike her because she's rich, Republican, favors school choice, and wants boys and girls to use separate restrooms. Ron, Betsy sounds like your kind of woman.
Yeah, well, I think that separate restrooms are kind of reasonable, but that's another story. No, I think it's ironic that she comes to town. It's almost like she's a progressive. She's thinking, how do we make education better and access for every student in our country instead of just the people who can afford it? And when you look at our education system, from Shawnee Mission East to Lee Summit West, Rockhurst, St. Thomas, Thomas Aquinas, great schools. And wherever you go, you find people trying to push the envelope to make it better quality for all the kids. Go to Kansas City, Kansas, different story. What do we do for those people? And I think that's where she's bringing some answers that are legitimate and asking the right questions.
Crosby, I know you've spent a lot of time looking at education during the course of your career. What do you think of DeVos, and have any thoughts about her visit to Kansas City?
Yeah, I've worked with the DeVosses in the past when we started the charter school movement in the state of Missouri, and I think they're very warm. It's a very warm, heartfelt thing on her part. She has a Christian school background, but you'll notice that unlike Mary Sanchez's, Mary intolerance on this, she went to a school where people are very different than she is, and she engaged with them. And the school, of course, had to send some of those kids to safe places, literally.
Well, yeah, safe rooms for some at the Kansas City Academy.
The intolerance on the other side was actually what was really obvious in what happened. I think vouchers there's some idea that they might work work, but I haven't seen it yet. Charters are working in Kansas City. School choice is working. It's not the only solution to anything, but it is a solution, and she's been a promoter of that. And there's nothing evil about that. A majority of the charter schools are African American students in Kansas City, and she's defending the choice of those parents to go to those schools. I want to know if Mary is willing to tolerate that.
Well, at the private school, they were holding up signs that say "Fund Public Education." Well, they're not going to public education facility. They're going to a private school. But is there any indication DeVos's goal is to defund public education? She's just trying to give options to parents, is she not?
I mean, I don't know whether she's trying to defund public education or not. I will say that one of the things.
And first of all, she couldn't because it's done by the state.
Right. The Secretary of Education
state.
really doesn't have that much ability to do that at the end of the day. But I think, so just in full disclosure, my daughter actually graduated and went to Kansas City Academy. She's very left-brained, totally opposite of mine. And so in that environment, she really thrived because she's extremely creative. So I do like the aspect that she did say on her tour that she is looking at ways in which to educate kids, because not all kids learn in the same type of an environment. So I do agree with that, and I think that looking at it, but not completely ruling out that public education is also a necessity. I think that's extremely important, and how do you find the compromise to fund it all across the board?
Patrick, is this type of visit that DeVos engaged in a legitimate effort, do you think, to gain information or purely a public relations project?
Here's what I know. She stepped into an environment that was not a captive, prescribed environment, into an environment that wasn't necessarily her folks, right? Mm-hmm. And she did so, and she's one of the few members of this administration that'll put herself in that position. Amen. And I give her a lot of credit for that. Whether I agree with her or not, she put herself out there and put herself into an environment. And listen to what the principal at Kansas City Academy had to say. She was overwhelmed with how focused and how committed she seemed to be to the idea that kids learn differently.
So, Ron, the next time she comes to town, maybe the safe room will be closed.
Yeah, maybe. Hopefully we'll get that figured out. Yeah.
All right. Whether it is November or next April, it does seem inevitable that Kansas Cityans will vote at some time on a new one-terminal Kansas City International Airport. Over the past several weeks, panelists on Ruckus and on Kansas City Week in Review seem more certain that voters are ready to say yes as long as local taxes are unaffected. So let's see if this panel agrees. Do you think when voters go to the polls this November or next April, a new KCI will indeed get voter support? And let's start our discussion with Crosby.
So, as I've said on this program before, I've moved to the side thinking that we ought to have a new terminal. I will say the City Council has done everything it can to make that unlikely at a vote of the people. I mean, they've a $1 billion no-bid contract. There's 7 lawyers on the council. How did that get out there?
And $500,000 in legal expenses.
In legal expenses.
Yeah. I know that happened.
322 members of Burns and McDonnell's staff gave money to the mayor and many to other city council members. The conflict of interest charges are running amok, and we still don't. The real problem is we still don't actually have any detail about the proposals, about why they picked Edgemoor.
If in fact they do, and I should point out we're taping this before the final council decision.
But the process has been disgraceful. It's been disgraceful.
We're sitting here right now
Absolutely.
during the hearing while there's testimony going on in front of the City Council about this process. And I don't deserve to put on Steve Glorioso's hat at all, but I'll channel him just a little bit. We've got less than 6 weeks before a proposed election, and nothing has happened. What would have happened is the Burns and Mack process would have segued into a campaign for passage. That stopped.
Yeah.
Right.
And the political reality is there's no way that this is going to pass instant, and there's not time to fund and create and run a campaign between now and November.
Well, in fact, Steve had said that several weeks before. He was, as I mentioned, scheduled to be on last week, and I had set it up so that the first question to Steve was going to be, do you stand by the idea that it should not be in November?
Well, Steve Rose did a great job yesterday, too, talking about that.
This Kansas City Star column.
That was wonderful.
Ron, are you concerned about a KCI vote?
Yeah, well, I think they've set themselves up to fail because you put there's so many questions. Nobody knows what's happening, who's going to do what, what's it going to cost, and when you get down to the bottom line, they're kind of forcing on the public that doesn't even know what it is yet. And it's not going to happen.
Burns and McDonnell remain active, it seems, in this process, trying to suggest that the council ought to reconsider. I guess, Teresa, what has interested me is that the council had a selection committee. Its job was to select one of the 4 applicants. It selected Edgemoor, and then people on the city council, at least some of them, are saying, well, why? I don't think I can go along with that. Is there any point in having a selection committee if you don't accept the selection it made?
That's a great question. I think it kind of goes
That's
back to
why
what Crosby had said earlier, is that, I mean, the whole process in general, I think, was extremely flawed. And they don't have really the time to educate the general public on what the tax is for, what it entails, what's going to happen. And so they really have kind of set the whole process up to fail. And then you have these council members that are also like, well, why did we choose this group? So that just muddies the water even more.
Well, and the selection committee is great as long as you understand what criteria they're using to make the selection.
Exactly.
And that's what's missing here.
Right.
So whatever happens from this process, whatever happens is going to be the fruit of this really poisonous tree, whether it's in November or hopefully it'll be mitigated when they move it to.
When you say fruit of a poisonous tree, that suggests litigation, does it not?
Well, I mean, this process.
I mean, there will be
That's
litigation.
There will be litigation.
I mean, correct. And there's going to be. There's going to be this taint, and everybody's dealing with this taint right now. Is there going to be litigation? I don't know, but it's a fair bet. There's a lot of lawyers.
Burns McDonnell has resources to fight this, and they've been dealt a bad hand here. I mean, they're part of the process. Excuse me, bringing it together, and they just kind of cast aside, and it's like, okay, what do we do here?
But because they were the first to come forward with the idea, had they been chosen, wouldn't that have caused the people to be somewhat skeptical of the decision?
Well, I think the whole thing, I think the people would have been that would have been a better decision than what we've got right now.
Yeah, it was,
in my opinion,
behind closed doors that they presented it to.
Yeah,
but they went through
some
that.
people
But they
think
went
the
through the
Burns and
process.
McDonnell advertising campaign, the promotions didn't do that company any good.
Right.
$8 million the city had given them in tax increment
Yeah,
financing.
well, they don't do badly in city contracts, I don't think,
and
on a historical
water
basis.
system
and that's
that
why
they
this
designed.
legal issue is going to be interesting to watch.
Crosby, assuming there will be an election at some point, will groups like Citizens for Responsible Government and others come forward and mount an effective anti-approval campaign?
They seem to be the only people in town who are outraged about the process, the total lack of real good public policy in our process. So I think they'll be very active, and I think they're getting a lot of attention these days because they're the only ones who are calling this as they see it.
They're outraged about a lot of things, aren't they? I mean, and
true,
perhaps justifiably,
there are a lot of things to be outraged about.
Patrick, if you were going to advise a committee advertising support, calling for support for a new airport, what would be the strongest thing to stress? What will be the benefit, the main benefit of a new airport, if there is going to be a benefit?
There's so many, and that's why people like Joe Reardon and the Chamber of Commerce do a really tremendous job pointing those out. But I think that the single biggest benefit is what it presents as the gateway to this city, and what it does in terms of travel capacity, flight capacity from Kansas City, all issues that we're losing to St. Louis on right now. And unless we decide pretty quick, then we're going to continue to lose.
Okay, now we're going to head to the soapbox for Roast and Toast, where the Ruckettes have 30 seconds each to celebrate or excoriate people and events in the news, and we start with Crosby.
So at this stage, the airport committee of the Kansas City Council looks like the Keystone Cops as a management group. So I want to roast them. This is one of the worst public processes I've ever seen. And with 7 lawyers on the council, with people who should know better, $1 billion, no bid contract, no transparency, no accountability. I roast the airport committee of the city council.
Teresa.
So I know we already talked about Steve, but I want to give a toast to Steve and his life. I first really got to know Steve working on the Kansas City Smoke-Free campaign with Pat Gray. We had a wonderful connection right from the get-go. I called on him numerous times over the years, considered him a friend, considered him an advisor and a mentor. And I know, along with so many other people in the city, he's going to be greatly missed.
Patrick.
So I'm climbing on that bandwagon. He was, what we know is that Steve was respected and admired by all sides. No issue has just 2 sides, and Steve was a master at navigating and articulating all sides of an issue. And as Dave Helling said, you knew when you were being worked, and everybody knew they were being worked, and they were working as hard as they could.
Just a quick note, there was a big celebration of Steve's life Wednesday evening, and you were there. I was there.
It was
and
great.
and
Well deserved.
Senator Claire McCaskill spoke and made note of the fact that noted GOP consultant Jeff Rowe was there.
Absolutely.
A real sign of
That's what I
respect,
mean by
Ron.
that.
Yeah, well, I wanted to toast Steve as well. And I met him as a political opponent back in '94. And you knew you were going to get a best shot every time you went against the guy, but the integrity, his passion, his commitment to the cause was always strong in there. The way he loved this city and worked everything he could to make it the best in his eyes what it could be. It was a tribute, and what a legacy that he left for the city.
Refresh my memory, Ron. Did you win that election?
No, Steve beat me. Okay, there I concede.
Whoever you're running against, beat you.
All right. And finally, here's a toast to the Kansas City Jewish community commencing its observance of the high holidays. The new year, 5778, began September 21st with Rosh Hashanah, and the observance concludes with Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, on September 30th. To our Jewish friends and viewers, Happy New Year, Shana Tova. And that is Ruckus for this week. We're back next Friday at 8 o'clock, then back to our usual slot Thursday evenings at 7. Now for the Ruckettes and the crew, I'm Mike Shannon saying thanks very much for watching and good night.